Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is BoxingWave. I wanted to talk on Artur Beterbiev. Okay, he's unlike just like most people here, at least over here in the States. Never really heard of him until he beat Tavoris Cloud. Okay, when he knocked him out, immediately went online, looked him up. You know, saw that he had a great, pretty good amateur background. Okay, saw that he beat Kovalev in amateurs. And, you know, looked him up, looked up his fights, and, you know, immediately thought this guy was a beast, you know, especially in the light heavyweight division. A lot of people got excited. I remember seeing a lot of journalists writing articles about how Hopkins and Kovalev and needed to look out for him, and, you know, everybody rushing and jumping to conclusions very early. Very early, because Beterbiev got what, 7 fights, 7 professional fights, and people were already saying before the Kovalev and Hopkins fight that, you know, they need to fight this guy. You know, now I do like the guy. You know, I was watching a fight with Jeff Page Jr. and you know, going into the fight, you know, I'm watching it and I'm like, you know, who's this Jeff Page guy? Guy got like 15 wins. No losses. Like, who did he fight? You know, I was definitely sleeping on the guy. You know, I seen Beterbiev knock guys out, and he's knocked everybody out he's fought. And then the fight starts, and I noticed right away that, you know, Jeff Page is a good boxer. You know, I'm watching the first round. I'm like, God, you know, outside of the knockdown, I thought he won the round anyway. You know, he has some, like a slick style. You know, he had some good movement and everything, and he looked, you know, he was making Beterbiev look pretty amateurish in the first round. And I'm like, I'm like, okay, maybe this guy's not so good. You know, and he's fighting a guy that is moving in there, and he's fighting with some intelligence, and you know, he dropped Beterbiev, and I'm like, wow, you know. Okay, maybe this guy is not so good, you know. Maybe he is just hype, you know. I mean, we know he has big power. We know he's a big light heavyweight. But, you know, I never was too fond of his defense, but I haven't seen too much of him anyway. So, really don't know how good he is, you know. But then the second round comes, and I seen the adjustments change right away. I mean, the way he was cutting the ring off, and just the way his timing, you know, he seemed a lot, for a guy that had just got knocked down, he seemed like he was a lot more poised in the second round. His timing was much better, okay? Just more precise, and when he cornered Jeff Page, he picked the shots much better in the second round, all right? I think the fight might have ended, was it the second or third round? Can't remember. But he stops Jeff Page, right? He drops him like 3 times, I believe. All right, he kept trapping him and stopping him, okay? The round looked totally different. And not to take anything away from Jeff Page, because the guy got skills. You know, I don't know how far he's going to go. But, you know, the point that I wanted to make here, and I like Beterbiev because I became a fan after I listened to his post-fight interview. Like, you know, I know he's been training and sparring with John Pascal. You know, I know he has the amateur background, but it wasn't until I heard his post-fight interview, and quote me if I'm wrong, but I remember him being asked whether or not if he wanted, because I know they're already trying to build up a fight with Kovalev in the future. Okay, I know that they're trying to build that. They're trying to rush him. They're going to try to rush him. And they asked him the questions that a lot of people have been saying. Is he better than Kovalev? How good is he? You know, he beat him in the amateurs. How would he be? He sparred with Pascal. You know, how good is this guy? And he is a very humble guy. You know, he actually said that he wants more experience in fighting professionally, and that when he beat Kovalev, it was back. He acknowledged the fact that he beat him in the amateurs, and that's a very long time ago. You know, Kovalev's probably much better since then. That's what I remember him saying. And I respected that, because from what I've seen, even though he has the power, from what I see, I'm not sure if he's up there with the best. You know, I seen his sparring session with Pascal, but that's sparring. You know, I don't know how good he is yet. And you know, it's crazy how everybody was ready to throw him up there and say that he was, you know, a threat to Kovalev, and he might be, but I would like for him to develop so we can get a better quality fight when the fight does happen, if it happens. Okay, that would be a big fight. You know, big punchers. You know, I believe both of them are from Russia. You know, that'd be great. But you know, the one key point I want to say about these guys is that there's a habit with them. You know, guys like Kovalev, you know, people say the same thing about Kovalev and Beterbiev now and Golovkin. You know, the people say the same thing. They're front foot heavy. They don't fight well fighting back. They can't fight backing up, and you know, things of that nature. And you know, everybody's quick to point out their flaws. Okay, especially when they're so dominant. We all do it. We do it with everybody. You know, I do it myself with certain fighters. You know, because we all are biased in some way based on the styles that we like in boxing, that we favor in boxing. And I noticed one thing that I noticed about Kovalev as well with this guy. And it seems that when they get dropped, you know, if you look at Kovalev's last fight before Hopkins, when he fought Blake Caparello was giving him some trouble in the first round. He was outboxing him in the first round. Okay? And he drops Kovalev. And as soon as that happened, the fight changed dramatically. You know, these guys, they know when to turn it on and off. And I believe they go into these fights at time and they just think it's going to be another quick knockout, and they get surprised. You know, and then they change gears and then they fight for real. And you see, they didn't just rush them and go for the knockouts. No, you see the adjustments. These guys got serious skills. This is why we thought Kovalev was going to lose against Hopkins, because of fights like the Blake Caparello fight where we see him get dropped and we see how, you know, he has the holes in his defense. We see things like this, but then when they fight on a serious level, it's domination. So we really don't know how good this guy is, because I think just like Kovalev, just like Golovkin, and I don't even think we've seen the best of Golovkin yet, but because we haven't really seen him in trouble. We haven't seen him get dropped. But I think these guys know how to turn it up another gear if they have to. Okay? Kovalev, I'm not overrating his boxing skills, but they're there. They're a lot better than what I assumed it was before he fought Hopkins. Because from the opening round, he fought with patience. Okay, he went 12 rounds with Bernard Hopkins, beating him all 12 rounds. Outboxing him too. Okay, not just by power, but actually outboxing him. Okay, so you gotta understand, and I'm not saying his power is not a factor. I understand that the power is a factor, and it made Hopkins a little bit more tentative of throwing punches. But at the same time, you got to give him respect, because Kovalev, we didn't even think he was that good. So you got to be careful with these guys. Okay, Beterbiev might be really, really good. One last thing I want to bring up. He's a big light heavy. I don't know if he's going to continue fighting at light heavy. I hope he does, because I like the matches that could be made at light heavy. I'm not a big cruiserweight fan. Okay, it's one of the most unpopular divisions in boxing. I would rather him be able to make weight and continue fighting at light heavy, because there's a lot of fights that could be made there. All right, so anyway, that's my point. You know, there's a lot of fights that, you know, I don't really see him getting a championship fight until, not even in the talks of it, until 2016. Okay, we're going to 2015 now. I see him fighting the Fonforas, the Chad Dawsons, you know, the guys that's been beaten by the current champions before we get to that point. And I still see him fighting other guys before even fighting those names I just mentioned. Okay, so let's just slow it down. You know, the guy is saying himself that he wants more professional fights. So I respect it. He thinks he wants to get better. I respect it. You know, I respect it. You know, and I would like for him to develop more. All right, so that's just my thoughts on him real quick. I just wanted to touch up on it. Jeff Page seems really good. I don't know how good he is neither, but the Tavares Cloud, I thought it was a better fight than the Tavares Cloud fight. I never thought Tavares Cloud was good. Okay, I thought he lost a fight against Campillo. Okay, he got destroyed by Bernard Hopkins. He's just not that good to me. He's not that good. All right, so anyway, let me know what you guys think of him. Okay, and make sure you hit subscribe.